Yeah, do you want to say something, Ms. Fox?
Well, I do. Respectfully, what my colleague just said is absolutely not true. It does impact on sports. Now, the Biden administration has soft pedaled what it's doing in sports. They don't want to put anything out big before the election because they know what a brouhaha it's going to be. But the regulation says schools are not allowed to prevent a person from participating in an education program or activity consistent with the person's gender identity. There are exceptions to that general policy, but athletics is not included in the exceptions. So athletics are included in this policy that the Biden administration. They are going to put out a separate rule, as I said earlier, on athletics, but it's, I think, using that proposed rule to mislead the American people in Congress into thinking that athletics aren't affected by the rule this resolution would stop. So we can see through the Biden administration's attempt to mislead, and we have an opportunity to pass this resolution and protect women's sports.
I think both of appreciate you bringing this up. Doesn't this get back to the core belief that men and women are biologically different? Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with that, Bobby?
Sure.
Do you, either one of you think that men ought to be able to play in women's sports?
I do not. I believe men should not participate in women's sports.
The Olympics, the NCAA, and other athletic leagues have been dealing with that for decades, and I think we can defer to their judgment.
No, but what's your core belief?
Well, if it's women's sports, it ought to be women, but then how you define women, as I said, the Olympics have been dealing with that for decades.
No, but your core belief as an elected representative are biological, let me ask you this.
I would defer to the Olympics and the NCAA and other sports leagues to make that determination. Who plays on what sports?
Yeah, but Bobby, we make the laws up here.
Say again?
We're making the laws up here.
Okay.
I mean, you have to have a core belief in it. And if you think men ought to biological, not identification, do you believe in identification? If you identify as a female, you ought to be able to play in a female sport.
Like I said, the Olympics and NCAA and others have been dealing with this, and you're asking a question to go through all of their considerations and how you define who can play on which sport.
But Scott, I mean, if you don't want to answer that, but I had.
Well, I don't want to answer yes or no. You've had agencies who've been dealing with this for decades.
But you're against this resolution, aren't you?
I am.
Okay. So that pretty well says that you think there's no difference in a biological man and a biological woman. And to say anything to not support this, I mean, I guess that's your belief. My question a year ago, where one of your, hold on, I'm reclaiming my time, and I'll give you a chance to respond, but my question with one of your colleagues who says, yeah, I think if you identify as a female, that regardless of biological, what you are, then you ought to be able to play. And my next question for him was, would you let your daughter get in the ring with Mike Tyson?
Well, like I said, the Olympics and all the other sports have been dealing with that, and what the discrimination has been defined, or based on account of sex, has been defined by the Supreme Court. Now, I'm aware that a lot of people don't agree with what the Supreme Court did.
Well, we make the laws up here, Mr. Scott, you know that.
That's the Supreme Court.
And just like, can a biological man have a baby? I don't think so. That's not even, I mean, that's not, you know the truth on that. Miss Virginia, you are totally against a biological man, biological, not identifying as a man, should not be able to play. And as far as protecting women, to say that if you believe anything else, the examples that we had In 2022, North Carolina volleyball player Peyton McNabb suffered a serious injury after a trans-identified male player spiked a ball and rendered her unconscious. How's that fair to women? Last year, a female athlete was injured by a trans-identified male during a hockey game in Massachusetts when a ball he threw at her knocked her front teeth out. Is that protecting women? No, and we just had Riley games in South Carolina. And Ms. Foxx, she actually tied she made those seconds up, and the whole, if she'd been a second under, a microsecond under, she wouldn't have been a question. The great part about this, she tied a biological male who, as Riley said, was intact, and who I would also add was having relations with the opposite sex in the changing rooms. To show you how ridiculous this is. But she tied them, and then they wanted, because of the woke philosophy that this administration is taking, they want to give it to the trans female, which is ridiculous. I hope the Democrats keep doing this. The public is sick of this. This is just common sense. And to defer to any other agency, you have a core belief, we make the laws, we make the rules, and you'll be voting on this. And this isn't, with all the problems we've got to even have to do this with the Biden administration, with what their interpretations are. But thank you for doing it. Now yield back.
Gentleman yields back.